brought to you almost live from the Dude in the Basement Studios. Why? 'Cause that's where the good stuff is. It's Sips, Suds, and Smokes with your smoking host, the good old boys. Suds, Suds, Suds. It's time for more Suds.
Welcome, everyone. Here we are, yet again, for another Suds segment. I'm one of your hosts, good old Gal JulieannaSUDS, and joining me at the table today is good old boy Tim.
Howdy. It's good to be back.
Yes, it is. And then there's good old boy Dave.
The man of your dreams.
Man of my nightmares.
It's like Freddy Krueger.
Wow. Okay. Recently, we started a new series, and we call it The Beer Club.
Beer Club. Beer Club. Beer Club.
Think of it as a book club, but with records and beer, which makes it so much more cooler.
Someone picks an album. We all listen to it. Then we each pick a beer and that we think pairs with it. Yeah, that's what that says. Now we'll sit around this very table, and each of us will share our beer and talk about why we think it pairs well with the album.
Good old boy Tim, since you picked the album, why don't you tell us all about it?
Yeah, for this episode, I decided to pick the 1997 album Whatever and Ever Amen by the musical trio Ben Folds 5.
Because it sounded better than Ben Folds 3.
Yeah, I guess so. I can't argue with that. So
He wanted people to know he could fold two more.
Than the rest of them.
Yeah.
yeah, he plays like 3 parts, I guess.
Yeah.
So this was released in 1997.
Yeah,
Tim was -2 years old.
it's not true. It's not true at all. I was 12 years old.
Oh. Sorry, old timer. Didn't mean to shave any years off of you.
Well, I know my voice sounds very young.
Yes.
But yes, this was recorded in, we were just talking, it kind of says Chapel Hill, North Carolina, Greensboro, Ben Folds from Winston-Salem.
Sure.
I guess you were saying this actual album
So, technically, it was recorded in the front room of a 2-bedroom apartment in a house in Chapel Hill.
Oh, okay. So it was in Chapel Hill.
And according to Ben Folds, you can't go for perfection in a house. The spiritual comment of the songs come from every so often, and lots of technical things are going on when this happens. And so all of this stuff just happened in that front room. Yeah.
Well,
He's deep like that.
I mean,
Yeah.
I think it's perfect anyway, so he was wrong. He achieved it.
No, agreed.
It's definitely a lot better than anything I've done in a front room in Chapel Hill, where I spent a number of years.
Well, but not better than what he's done in the back room.
The back rooms in Chapel Hill, that's a different story.
That's where Tim made his magic.
Oh.
And I've seen Ben Folds in Chapel Hill probably like 4 or 5 times.
Cool.
Yeah, he always goes by there.
Yeah. Neat.
He
And did you know, little fun fact, that he actually was in Nashville before he went to New York and New Jersey, and then went to Chapel Hill and formed the band? Like, I thought that he came to Nashville after the Ben Folds 5 records, but he actually was here as a session player before all of that.
Oh, no, I didn't know that either.
that's where he
Yeah.
got his chops,
Yeah, exactly.
doing some session work.
Well, yeah, and it also says that he did a little bit of acting, too, which I don't know what kind of acting he would have done.
Yeah, I'd like to see some of those commercials or clips or something.
Probably like in those local car lot ads. He was the...
Exactly. Once Ernest left, they got Ben Folds to come in and do it.
Well, come on down. We'll find you a deal.
Let's do a little piano ditty to outro.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, he's a huge Nashville guy, still is. I saw him here with the Symphony maybe a year and a half ago. Spends a lot of time, I think, still in Australia, but he kind of bops around. He was here again for I think a concert maybe a month or two ago for his new album as well.
Oh, nice.
Or a couple months ago, but I did not get to see him.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, cool. So this was recorded by Caleb Southern, who actually just recently passed away. In July of this year. Yeah, he was a musician. He was a record producer, and he was a computer science teacher at Georgia Institute of Technology.
Really?
Yeah, and he was referred to as the fourth member of Ben Folds 5.
Oh, wow. Well,
But he was born in Chapel Hill, so that's probably how.
Okay.
They were
Folds
homies
knew him.
from way back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it's a timely choice then. We'll have to cheers, Sam.
We'll have to pour one out
Yeah.
on
Right?
the carpet for Sam.
It's not my carpet.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay.
All right.
Well, before we get into the record and what we have, the beverages, good old boy Dave, why don't you give us the Suds ratings for today?
I would love to, Juliana. Thank you for introducing me to this section. We'll be discussing and rating these beers with these Suds ratings, plus our signature belching sounds. Here are those ratings now. 1. That sucks. Give me anything but a bud. 2. Was that a belch? 3. Ah, what a relief. 4. A body should really not make that sound. And 5. Listen to that hang time. Give me another. Felt like I had to kind of bring the energy back up. We were talking about a guy passing away, so you know.
Yeah, is that your new radio voice?
Hey, you got it, kiddo. All right, let's
the racks and
spin the
stacks.
wheels and steel. All right.
All right, so let's get into it. And first of all, Tim, why did you pick this record?
Yes, Tim, if that's your real name.
Save the questions for later. Ben Folds has always been one of my favorite artists. I was, originally introduced to them as Ben Folds 5. It was someone my older brother listened to a lot in high school, and so I was just kind of around it a lot. And to this day, he still is putting out music, so I've just kind of followed him as an artist for a long time. But I was also really into Ben Folds 5 in high school, and it's just something I always kind of related to, and so it's, a couple of his albums are just awesome albums I'm putting on still to this day every couple of months when you realize you haven't heard it in a while. So when we were talking about picking one, I was sitting on my porch trying to think of what to play, and I put that on and just felt right.
Cool.
Yeah.
No, I think
Nice.
it was a great idea, as indicated by us. Sorry that you can't see us.
For those of who are only listening and not watching the live video feed, Julie and I are wearing matching Ben Folds 5 concert shirts.
Yes.
I didn't realize I was underdressed. But,
That's okay.
I didn't realize I was going to have to wear one of my wife's old shirts. So that's two of us who
Yeah.
didn't know
Too big.
about the wardrobe requirements.
yeah, you got the better end
But
of
it
that
just
deal.
proves that I've been a fan of them
Yeah.
collectively.
I was
for a
excited.
while.
I was excited when you both seemed so excited about my pick. I
Yeah.
wasn't. I knew you'd be, aware and whatnot, but I didn't know for sure that you were fans like I am.
Yeah, totally. He's like
Yeah.
a modern day Billy Joel.
Oh, dude, something happened to this. There's a hole in this cup
There's
or
a
something.
hole in the cup. Okay.
I'm gonna need
Well,
you.
speaking of Tim, what beer did you bring today to go along with the record of choice?
Well, thinking about the record and the sound and everything, it feels so 90s to me, and so I wanted to pick a beer that also 90s in a good way, I'd say, not as an outdated or whatever, but I wanted to pick a beer or brewery that sort of had that idea as well. Maybe late 90s, early 2000s was when I was listening to it.
Big ties to music, too, this brewery.
Yeah, exactly. So I ended up picking Dogfish Head's 60-minute IPA.
Oh! What year did they start brewing this?
Well, they started brewing in general in 95, and I know that this was one of their first or early beers.
Probably about 96, 97.
I mean, I would really imagine they had some iteration of this, because if you remember, they kind of did like the continual hop with this beer, and they had like the old school
the vibrating football
vibrating football game.
Yeah.
And would put the hops on there and just let the pellets.
Which, side note, if you have not been to the brewery in Dogfish Head,
I have not.
The Dogfish Head Brewery
in
Dover,
Milton,
the Milton one.
Yeah. You
Milton.
need to go, because it's also like a history of Sam's like brewing from like the beginning homebrew kind of stages all the way up. So
there's even a section of old carpet that is still stained from one of his first homebrew batches blowing out.
Really?
Probably. Yeah.
I don't know. I just made that up, but that would be cool, wouldn't it?
I mean, it would track with Sam for sure.
And speaking of which, the 60-minute IPA actually came out in 03.
Okay.
The 90-minute was the one that started in 01.
Okay. Well, I saw a 90-minute on the shelf, and I wasn't really prepared for that this afternoon. So
in this heat, I don't blame you.
And I think it's such an approachable, delicious beer, and I haven't had it in a while, but it's one of those like this album that I kind of like to check back in with every so often. And it's just such a smooth, delicious beer.
Oh, it is. I mean, at 6% ABV, it's like it hits that perfect sweet spot,
Yeah, absolutely.
It's weird. It's like if you want to know like what the IPAs were tasting like back when West Coast IPAs were big, the original West Coast IPAs were big with that caramel backbone and everything. Like this is a great callback to those beers without being a palate burner.
Absolutely, yeah, right. So I mean, I kind of went through some of the older IPAs and things like that, and I thought Stone was a little too aggressive for this album.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, a lot of things you can't find anymore because
they don't last.
They just don't last.
Test of time.
Exactly, and distribution goes down, or the breweries themselves have gone on.
I would do
gone to pasture.
Like Stone IPA, maybe like Ride the Lightning or something like an old Metallica album.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah,
absolutely.
I can totally see that.
But 60-minute, I think, because it's lively, it's got good backbone to it. It's mellow and kind of smooth, but it's there, man. I mean, there's some high notes in this too, kind of like the album.
Yeah, and Dogfish Head kind of embraces their unique personality, and I always felt like Ben Folds, kind of also at a certain point embraced the nerdy whatever that he is.
Oh, quirky. He is. He's
quirky,
the pocket
funny,
protecting, nerdy kind of guy.
Yeah, exactly.
And yet he still gets the girl.
Yeah,
or
exactly.
Girls.
Or
multiple. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely. So I feel like they're comfortable in their skin and use it almost to an advantage.
Those weird looking guys that play piano and sing, man, they get Billy Joel.
Hey, Elton John?
Yeah.
Well.
Oh.
Well, we'll be right back after this interlude.
It's not just the destination, but baby, the whole elation of riding down this lover's avenue. As slow as the willow blows, or as fast as the whirlwind grows, we glide beneath the stars in cobalt blue. Look to the left, to the right, keep your eyes on the road, my darling, wondering if we're only passing through. Open roads and open windows, my hand is yours forever, sweet love. Our eyes ahead on these back roads with a view.
welcome back, everyone, to another edition of Beer Club.
Beer Club.
Beer Club.
Today, good old boy Tim picked a record for us to listen to, and that record happens to be For Whatever and Ever, Amen by Ben Folds 5. So, we were talking about the beer that Tim
had
picked.
brought.
Yeah, which is the 60-minute IPA from Dogfish Head. And Dave?
So, Tim, what is your favorite track from this album?
Oh man, it's like asking me to pick my favorite co-host.
Tim, who is your favorite co-host?
The answer is Julieanna.
We know that. I don't think that was ever.
Well,
See, it pays to wear the shirt.
yeah, exactly.
I wore the stupid shirt.
Well, they're both her shirts. I saw her name on the tag there. I'll pick one, but it's difficult. I mean, it's the album starts off so strong with One Angry Dwarf and 200 Solemn Faces, which
Right?
is just what a way to start, and it kind of sets the tone. And that would be an honorable mention. There's a lot of really kind of heady songs sort of in the middle. Kate is one of the kind of poppier ones that has always been a favorite of mine. And
Oh, the romantic.
yeah, exactly. You know, the high school hopeless romantic.
I was on here with two girls.
And the Battle Who Could Care Less is also a great one that sort of embodies a lot
Very
of that.
tongue-in-cheek,
Yeah,
yes.
exactly. And those high school kids that, you know, maybe were a part of at one point. But
Well, there's only about 9 more songs on here if you want to just...
well, the last one is probably my favorite, and that would be Evaporated.
Okay.
It's a lot slower. You know, it ends the album. There are bonus tracks on other versions, but it sort of ends the album on a slower, you know, piano tune. But I like I think one of my favorite things about Ben Folds is his songwriting, and I think a lot of times he just is able to embody a lot of ideas that I had.
Yeah.
I'm sure many others have had that maybe couldn't put the words in the right order and that sort of thing. And so there's one, like the second verse on the song says, "I woke up way too late, feeling hungover and old. The sun was shining bright, and I walked barefoot down the road." It just paints like such a vivid picture that I feel like we've all been there. You may be staying at a buddy's house somewhere. You wake up just late night, super hungover. Not really sure where your life is. Not sure what you're doing. You're not sure what you're doing that morning, and you start wandering, maybe for some food or a coffee or who knows
I'm sure we've all
what.
been there at one point.
Trying to find your car.
Yeah,
Yeah.
having a little existential crisis as you don't even know where your car is and you don't know where you're going with your life. And yeah, so the song, it's Misery Loves Company sort of song,
Nice.
and it just I think it's a beautiful way to end the album. I just really, really enjoy that one.
Cool. Well, we really enjoyed this 60-minute IPA from
Oh,
Dogfish
gosh,
Head.
yeah.
What would you guys rate it?
Oh, there's no doubt that this is a 5. It is.
Yeah,
It's so tasty.
you don't see it on tap very much anymore, but it's always a nice treat when I do. So
Yeah,
I
it
agree,
is.
yeah.
But again, like, it's something that's classy that is still relevant, you know?
yeah,
Which-
absolutely.
Yeah. Good old boy Dave.
Hey.
What beer did you bring for this record?
So, okay. So, I'm gonna say this. Name of this beer. And I don't want people to go, "Oh, he must hate this album," as Tim did.
I
when
did say
he
that.
saw it. But so I brought PBR, Pabst Blue Ribbon, because
Of course you
as
did.
soon as Tim texted it to Julie, like what album he was going to do, I was like, "Oh, hipsters," and that's exactly what I was thinking of.
That's rude.
You know,
It's
but
kinda
also,
true, though.
like when you go to live shows in Nashville, or you go to live shows anywhere, a lot of times it's mostly cheap beer. You know, especially
Yeah.
you go to clubs and
Definitely.
stuff. And so
At the good places, right?
Yeah, the cheap beers around here, one of the main ones is PBR. And you know, there's also a hipster beer, which is probably partly due to it being cheap. Either way, though, I still think it's a good match with this album because it takes me back to the 90s, and everything, and like, going to shows and having a beer, or having a few beers, and like you couldn't, like, if you, by the time you paid for the ticket or you got to the show, you didn't have a lot of beer money, so you bought the cheap beer,
Yeah.
And this is the kind of music where even if you're drinking cheap beer, it's all still good, because you're into the music and everything. And I think this was more of a taking me back to a certain place kind of thing than anything, Plus hipsters, and I like making fun of hipsters. So
I think hipsters have moved on from Ben Folds and PBR. But
what are hipsters drinking now then?
I think they're drinking
Seltzer?
like Montucky. Yeah.
Oh.
And
Ooh.
yeah, I know.
Okay.
Wait, what's
And
Montucky? I don't know what that is.
It's the one with like the horse on the can.
Oh,
I don't know. It's yeah. You don't worry about it.
okay. I'm not.
Yeah, I mean it's a nice, easy drinker. It's always in the 16-ounce at the concert venue, and so why would you get a 12-ounce beer if they got 16-ounce beers?
Exactly.
And yeah, you can just kind of sip and enjoy your beer and not think too much about it, which is Dave's specialty.
Yeah.
And just
Yeah.
enjoy the music.
Wait, what?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's 4.8% ABV. It's not like,
Yeah,
you
right.
know.
I think people kind of forget about that too. Like it's not 4% or something. Like
Yeah,
you can
some
have a couple,
sissy
but
beer.
also
You gotta feel it.
by the time you get to
after a little
number
bit.
6 or 7, yeah, you'll
you're-
be dancing a
you
little
drink
bit.
a picture. You drink a picture of this. You're gonna,
Oh God, and like those older concert venues that it's just so warm inside and hot.
yeah.
Oh,
This
yeah.
is so thirst
They don't stay.
quenching.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really.
And you got to drink it fast.
Yeah.
You don't,
Oh, yeah.
You don't nurse a PBR.
You don't want a
No.
warm PBR.
Yeah. But, it's like the game of, hey, chug it in between songs.
Totally.
Yeah, it's a chugger, not a sipper.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
So, are you familiar?
Bubbly fart water.
Oh, wow. Are you familiar with this record?
Oh yeah, I owned the CD of it back in the day.
Okay.
Oh, nice. Me
The
too.
back when compact discs were a thing.
Cool.
So yeah, and honestly, I was kind of glad you picked it because I haven't listened to the album all the way through in a long time. Like, because like Brick and Song for the was it Broken Hearted?
For the dumped, yeah.
Yeah, Song for the Dump. Those come on the radio periodically. But if I had to pick a favorite song on this album, I'm going to pick, was it Steven's Last Night?
In town.
Yeah, Steven's Last Night in Town. And the reason I'm picking it now is because I didn't know the story about it before. That I guess he had a guy staying with him who was supposed to leave, and the guy just never left. And so Ben Folds wrote this song, and then the guy left the next day. He got the hint.
You got the hint.
Yeah, finally got the hint. So if you got to write a song, a really cool song,
Yeah.
to make someone leave your home, that's well. And you know what? If you're Ben Folds, that's what you do.
I guess it was good enough to include on the album.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd have just had to throw them out. Like, hey, you got to go.
Yeah, so many of his songs have a person's name in the title, and that's another thing I really like. And you can tell they're real people, and they just it has this like kind of sort of small town little feel. And you kind of feel like you know them. Like even in that song, he refers to like the people that got pissed because he told them they had cellulite, or the all the bridges he burned, and he just gives the names of the people, and it kind of makes it more real.
Yep.
And you're kind of like, I bet
Like
this thing's really
this
happened.
actually,
Yeah.
this was a thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. There's a real believability.
This guy was an a-hole.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's Steven. He sucks.
Yeah.
What a jerk.
Yeah.
Sounds like Mike.
Wow.
And it's got a little, like, I don't know, almost polka type vibe to it.
The PBR?
The sound of Steven's Last Night in Town. Or maybe it's like
Yeah.
brass.
It's definitely
or
like an upbeat kind of.
Yeah, there's an oopa
Dancey
oopa
kinda
tune. Yeah.
kind of ness to it.
that
Yeah.
you don't really find in many
Well,
other songs
it's-
on the album.
It's like nerdy music in
Totally,
a way. You know what I
totally,
mean?
yep.
So it kind of makes sense that you would. I mean, I would wonder if he has any Eastern European descent. I wouldn't think so.
yeah.
You know what I mean? I
don't
would think
know.
he's like more Englishy,
Right.
kind of stuff.
Seems
but
like it.
I'm sure he grew up around it, and also, being in New York for a few years, you're exposed to all kinds of music.
Yeah.
That I wouldn't be surprised if that sort of fit into it.
Well, plus he was a session player for a while, so you can't pick what you're playing on when you you're getting paid.
Sure. Yeah,
Sure.
maybe
So
polka is the
maybe
wrong
he was.
word, but like it's just these almost over the top, but not really. But it's just all these different instruments layered on top, pretty loud.
Yeah.
And I think you're right. It probably came from being this session musician and kind of
Being exposed. But he also liked classical music too. So
he's just a student for sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
and all that crazy
Cool.
stuff. So yeah.
Good pick, Dave. Good pick.
Yeah.
Thanks, bud.
What's your favorite song?
Yeah, Stevens.
right?
That's
Okay.
the one we just talked about.
Okay, just making sure.
Man, that
How many
PBR's hitting you
PBRs?
hard.
Yeah, maybe I had 20. No.
She's chugging that PBR.
Speaking of PBR, what shall we rate this crazy fine beverage? Yep, a 3.
Yeah.
Sure. Well, it's a classic for what it is.
It's
Yeah.
a steady edge.
It's
Yeah.
it's cold, right? And it's super hot out right now, and so
Yeah.
it is refreshing.
And this is what
Yeah.
the nerdy ancestors of old
Yeah.
drank, so why not?
I'm sure Ben Folds has had many
Oh gosh,
PBRs.
yeah, right?
Yeah,
Probably had a few dumped on him at shows and thrown on him.
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, now it's my turn, so
Yeah.
I'll be rather brief. So when I started listening to Ben Folds, I lived in Buffalo, and I thought it was going to be really hard for me to get like a Molson or a Labatt that was like fresh and not,
Yeah.
from there. So I went with Yuengling because I also drank a lot of Yuengling at the time. Yeah. And this is back when there wasn't a lot of availability of a variety of beers to be had.
Right.
Like, no matter where I was living, whether it
Yeah.
be in Scranton, Wilkes-Barre, Buffalo, etc. So this just, this is like hominess and comfort, like comfort food. And this Ben Folds 5 record is comfortable to me.
Yeah.
It's poppy, it's nerdy, it's cool. I'm a fan of his. I'm a fan of his orchestration. I'm a fan of his friendship with some certain guy from Star Trek who he did a record with,
Yes,
as a matter of
he did.
fact.
He did.
You know what I mean? And not everyone can be fans with Shatner, so
No. He picks his friends
right.
wisely.
The
It's a
Shat
great-
Man.
yeah, it's a great thing. So that's why I went with the Yuengling too. It's just really cool. Now, in terms of my favorite song on the record, well, again, that's hard because there were so many hits.
You want
But
to list all 7 of them?
yeah,
I
no.
named 3.
But I'm gonna go with One Angry Dwarf and 200 Solemn Faces because it's a real certain finger of the hand up to
Sure is.
many people who said, "Oh no, you're not going to do well. Like
Yep.
you're crazy for thinking that you're
Some
going to."
nerdy
Right.
music kid.
Yeah,
Some
exactly.
weird
You're not
piano
gonna,
boy.
47
yeah,
inches
you're not going to be
tall.
successful, et cetera, et cetera. And I like the way he's very like tongue in cheek about it with the lyrics.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the first track. He just
Yeah, so, you
starts
start
the
off with a
tone.
bang.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm going to tell you how I feel about this.
Yeah. So you're campy and you're funky, and
Weird.
weird,
And weird, yeah.
but in a good way,
In
and
the best way. Oh,
Yeah.
100%.
True that.
So, what do you guys think of the beer I picked?
It's no PBR, but
It's
it's
not-
okay.
He's right. It ain't a PBR.
No,
True.
but it's got a little. It's actually a nice step from the PBR. It's got a little extra body, a little maltier.
Yeah, and interestingly, this is even less ABV than this is 4.5%
4.5.
ABV.
Wow.
But I feel like it's got a little bit more flavor. I think it's just darker malted,
Yeah.
Yeah.
than
yeah.
the PB. Obviously for the color.
For sure.
Anyways, what shall we rate the Yuengling?
Yeah, we can go with that.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, we're gonna go with the 4.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Well, we may not have mentioned it before, but if you have a chance, check out this album. And the best way to check out this album would be on vinyl, because
Absolutely.
that would be great. But if not, on any streaming platform that you guys use.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
His stuff can be hard to find on vinyl. I don't know why. I wish he would do some re-releases, but
Yeah, and maybe
perhaps there's some lawyers getting in the way of that. I don't
yeah,
know.
could
There's
be,
always
could
that.
be. Though there was a 20th anniversary of this record that came out that had a lot of extra
I think that was the version I
songs.
was listening to, but I didn't see it on.
Yeah, there were extra songs like "Video Killed the Radio Star." I think
Yeah.
was on there, and then there was a
She Don't
Flaming
Use
Lips
Jelly.
song.
Yeah.
Anyways, okay. Well,
She
that's
Don't
going to
Use
do it
Jelly?
for today.
Oh, man.
Good old boy Tim, thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for letting me choose another record and come over and drink some beer.
Yeah, good old boy Dave, thanks for being here.
Hey! That's all I got.
Oh, okay. This is good old Gal Juliana. Keep on chuggling and catch you next time.
Beer Club.
We hope you enjoyed this episode. If you're listening to us online, do yourself a favor and tap
Just tap it in.
the subscribe button.
Give it a little tappy. Tap, tap, tap-a-roo.
The easiest way to listen to our show is to ask Siri, Alexa, Google, Uncle Larry, or whoever it is that talks to you on your phone, play podcast Sip, Suds, and Smokes. We love your feedback, and you can reach us at info@sipsudsandsmokes.com. Our tasting notes flow out on Twitter and Instagram with our handle @SipSudsAndSmokes, and our Facebook page is always buzzing with lots of news. You'll also be able to interact with the thousands
Millions and millions.
of other fans on those social media platforms. Do us a favor. Take the time to rate this episode if you're listening to us online. That's a big help to us, and we get to see your feedback as well. Come back, join us for another episode, and keep on sipping.
This has been a One Tan Hand production of Sip, Suds, and Smokes, a program devoted to the appreciation of some of the finer slices of life. From the Dude in the Basement Studios, your hosts, the Good Old Boys, will see you all next time.